Chapter 48. I slowly make my way to a flat piece of ground and sit down. I feel tired, in a bone-weary way that I did not think possible. The pain of asphyxiation has mostly abated with the death of the herald, but the many wounds I collected are still slowly closing, Jimena's stolen dagger having bitten deep. So, it is over. I won. Victory tastes of ash and regret. Now, if I want to send Dalton off, then I will have to leave, flee once more. There is a chance that I can convince the night squad that I am not some raving lunatic, but I would rather not take a chance. Their pursuit is strange, to say the least. What kind of influence do they expect me to have over Master? How is the death of Wolfgang any of my responsibility? It does not make sense. Worse, it sounds increasingly like someone holding a grudge for the death of their ally. If they expect my own demise to hurt my sire, they are terribly mistaken. Not that it will matter much if I am slain. No, the best course of action is to escape. I am not without means, and I should be able to access funds via the consortium once I have found a place to settle. Far away from any vampire settlements until I can get those orders rescinded. There is still much time before the conclave. I stand up heavily, eager to rejoin the others and let them know of my success when my ears detect rushing feet coming from behind. Soon after, I perceive familiar heartbeats and loath steel and mountain aura. Merit and Nashoba appear first, trailed by a dozen native warriors. A few others are helping Loth carry a coffin. They gather around the bird carcass in a half circle. Loth puts down in charge and takes a step forward. So, you did it. I nod. We stare at each other without saying a word, but like old friends, we convey a mountain of meaning. Pain, relief, trust, regret, sympathy, much is shared. We followed the fight thanks to Nashoba. He used some sort of sorcery to watch you but lost it when you grabbed the key of Beria. What happened? I destroyed it. You did. Alright, help me make a bonfire. I find myself caught off guard. We will cremate Dalton here? Yes. A proper farewell surrounded by bloodied warriors and on the corpse of his killer. I don't know a better way to send someone off. I consider this for a moment. I was thinking of burying him. I was thinking like a Christian, a mortal. This is no longer what Dalton and I stand for. Their God no longer welcomes what I have become. Loth is right, we will pay our respects like the warriors of old, with a meaningful ceremony. We will mourn with you, adds Nashoba, he fought for us like you did. We will be with you in this sorrowful time. We're not leaving you alone, adds Merit. I say nothing. Besides Loth, they did not know him, but they wish to pay their respect. This is something that I can understand and consent to. With barely a word, we follow Loth's direction and gather pine wood from around us. The task is made easy by the ravaged land. Fallen branches and trunks litter the ground for hundreds of yards in every direction. Once the pyre is made on top of the herald's remains, Loth drenches it in resin and oil. He lights a torch and hands it to me. Say a few words. What is there to say? He is gone and will not return. And I will never be allowed to follow when my time has come. Share a memory, insists Loth, something we will remember him by. No man is truly gone who lives in someone else's heart, adds Nashoba with a whisper. When I let him go, I saw myself through his eyes. For him, one of the most defining moments of his life was when I saved him in the Blood Cult's cave, after he failed to bring us our weapons. I barely remember it. I was half mad with thirst and did not care about anything but my next meal. He was on my side and already on the way to becoming my vassal. Of course, I would save him. I barely remember this moment. For me, one of the most important memories we shared was when he took the initiative for the first time as we were bounty hunting. It made him reliable and independent in my mind. Different perspectives, really. In the end, it was the small gestures we did for each other that impacted the other the most. I light the fire and walk back to the others at a respectful distance. We watch in silence as the flames lick the coffin. Embers rise to the sky and add to the melancholy. On the side, the Chata warriors sing a mournful song in their language. I do not understand the words, but I know they speak of the sky and of farewell. I have a story too, adds Loth in turn. He clears his throat and begins. When I was trying to build a magical key, I dropped a batch of prototypes and messed up so I forgot which was which. I was about to throw them all away, but the boy stopped me. He took them in the list and calculated the mass of each key according to the composition of its alloy. Took him a few hours to finish everything, but he was so damned proud. I had been teaching him algebra for a few weeks by then, and he was always eager. Eager to help, eager to matter, to make a difference. He never asked anything in return. He just did it for us. It was a point of pride. The pair's flame dance high by now. We listened to the warriors' songs for a while until Nashoba steps forward. I have story as well. Drink first. Here. Loth takes a flask from a pouch around his waist and throws it at the shaman, who expertly grabs it and takes a swig. I can smell alcohol, and the native's scrunched face confirms this is the good stuff. Nashoba's voice is hesitant at first, but progressively gains in fluidity. His mastery of English is still poor. We had many wives lost when cleaning at the river. We asked the white men around but were sent off. Then I offered bounty. No one takes. Then Dalton comes. He tracks a group of 6 men and saves the girls, then runs back to us. The bad men follow. We punish. Dalton saves and gives vengeance. Life and death. Only crime matters, not the color of skin. That's right. He never judged us for what we were, only for how we acted. Damn, I will miss him so much. And I am crying now. The bittersweet pain tastes different now that his killer lies dead. I feel like I can finally grieve properly. We are lost in our own thoughts. The pair is in full blast now. From time to time, Nashoba throws a few leaves and resins in it until the clearing smells clean and fresh, like new spring, and blue smoke rises up in an ethereal dances. This is the first time that I have been close to a fire this size without a hint of apprehension. Even my instincts are subdued. And then, a new presence lets itself known. A cold aura that can only mean one thing. Vampire. For one frightful second, I fear that the squad of knights has found me. I soon realize my mistake. The man is alone. He is respectfully letting us know of his coming. I turn out of curiosity, though I already know who this is. The others mirror me and gasp. Lord Suarez. Buenas noches, señorita. May I join your fire? The last time I had a good look at him, Lord Suarez was blasting his way through an actual wall in a shower of splinters. Then, I was running through the streets of Charleston with his terrifying presence at the heels. Tonight, the monster is contained and the man facing me is a rich noble taking a stroll through his woods. Suarez is taller than Cerrone, though a bit less muscular. He has melancholic chestnut eyes, dark hair that falls to his shoulder and a pencil-thin and perfectly groomed anchor beard and mustache. He looks too dignified to be a Caribbean pirate and too roguish to be a duke. Even his clothes are ambiguous. He wears a light orange and outdated courtly ensemble that would look ridiculous on anyone but him, and sports a dangerous-looking fencing sword by his side. I pointed a spot to my left while the warriors retreated a safe distance. I do not have the heart to refuse. I felt his power before. If Suarez wants to sit, he will damn well sit, and there is nothing I could do to stop him. Unlocking the might of my bloodline gave me the edge I needed to defeat the Herald, and I am confident I could take on older courtiers, perhaps even several of them at the same time. A battle lord of the Cadiz is an entire other prospect. Señorita. May I? The man is close. Even sitting, he is not just taller, he feels larger. Much larger than me, and yet, his voice is incredibly soft, and I can see longing in his eyes. I realize what he is asking. Are you here to kill me? No. Then. All right. Lord Suarez extends a single claw against my cheek and recovers a pearl of red tear with religious reverence. He brings it to his lips, hesitates at the last moment, then gives in. The mighty vampire turns his head away almost bashfully and takes one shaky breath. Silence returns to the clearing. I find myself captivated by the chaotic pattern of the flames dancing towards heaven. I am not surprised that they would be used to cleanse us from this world. There is something wild and unforgiving about fire. Those mages who use it in spells do not control it, they merely select a way to unleash its rage. Who are you mourning? Lord Suarez is facing me now. His cheeks are flushed in a decidedly mortal way. I wonder how it feels to drink tears. It does seem different from just shedding them. My vassal. He nods in understanding. Then allow me first to pay my respects. He stands, then kneels before the peer, and though his lips moved, no sound escaped it. After a while, the vampire stands up and pricks his finger, sending a few drops to be consumed by the peer, then he returns to my side. I am pleased by his show of respect. Dalton truly got a proper send-off, like he deserved. Tell me of him. I think I should go. If you found me so easily then. The knights will be here in 15 minutes. What? I saw their day encampment and left them behind. There is nothing you can do to run away now, and I swear on my name that staying is to your advantage. I don't know. Please believe me, you should stay. Stay and tell me of him. He would never lie. Very well. I start my story with Crow's request and progressively move forward. I am not a coherent storyteller at the moment. Times are all over the place, anecdotes and remarks follow each other without sense, and yet not once does he interrupt me. His few comments only show support and interest, or help me center myself. Towards the end, he urges me to speak of Dalton's demise and the fight that followed. When I am done, he considers his next words carefully. You had something quite precious, and I am sorry that you lost it. Now, the knights are upon us. I ask that you do not engage. His gaze drills into mine. Do not engage. Talk to them but do not attack. If it comes to this, I will handle them myself. But why? Have you forgotten? You spared me from the fate that befell you by saving my own vassal, Inez. The Tillerson estate. Yes. On that night she asked and you listened. You saved her life. I have a debt, one that I will repay tonight. Your deeds speak for themselves, Ariane of the Nirari. I will protect you from harm in the coming confrontation. You do not stand alone. He speaks the truth. Nashoba is here, so are Loth and Merritt. Isaac is gone, but he left me with the suppressor. I have been carried so far by the bonds I created through joy, pain and common effort. Dalton may be gone, but what we shared will live within me. I am not alone. I turn to face the night. Suarez stands to my right, while Loth, Nashoba and Merritt are on my left. The witch utters a small fuck me, before standing up, but she joins us anyway. I have no idea what I did to get her loyalty. It doesn't take long for a few unknown vampires to step out of the shadows. They mask their auras. I knew it was possible, for how else could Suarez surprise me in Charleston? It is one thing to know of it, however, and another to see a squad of knights in full battle regalia surround me while coming out of seemingly nowhere. There are 4 of them, all in the grey lamellar armor I saw on both Emina and Wolfgang. They are an eclectic bunch, though they move with a synchronism that speaks of trust and training. On one side is a taciturn man with a shaven head and an axe and shield. His muscular arms flex as he rolls his shoulders and inspects us. Opposite him is a black-haired lad with an almost girlish face and a long dagger he twirls between agile fingers. He is the only person smiling here, mischievously. Behind them, a woman looks warily towards Suarez as she holds a staff between clenched hands. Her face is covered by a scarf that only leaves dark eyes free. The last one, and their leader if I read the situation correctly, is fixing me with an angry glare. He looks straight out of the Prince Charming page of a fairy tale book, right down to the confident pose. A handsome face, a chiseled chin, deep blue eyes darker than mine, a regal air. He has it all, and even his arrogance could pass off as nobility. I instantly dislike him. We should not be allowed to look self-righteous. Not us. The hypocrisy is simply too much to bear. I see you have decided to stop hiding, beast, and face your judgment. Hold on, what? Who are you calling a beast? Long have I waited for the chance to rid the world of your tainted kind. You are a blight, and I am the cure. Did you take those lines from the Brotherhood? That gets me a chuckle from the black-haired man. His leader looks at him, furious, but the roguish knight just shrugs helplessly. Lord Suarez uses the pause to take a step forward. She is no beast, Anatole, even you cannot be this blind. She is a rogue. She has to be. Every Nirari spawn is a disaster in waiting. We are having a conversation, are we not? Is this standard rogue behavior? I add with impatience. And what of the rumors that you left a trail of blood on your way out of New Orleans? Rumors, really? I thought the Knights were a serious organization, and you base your judgment on hearsay? Not to mention my siblings Vyatoslav in Russia, who works with the Vityazi. Is he also a disaster in waiting? Will you go to Moscow and apprehend him afterward? His fellow knights track Anatole's reaction with no hint of support. This only serves to make the man more incensed. The situation is disturbingly easy to understand, a poor prospect when vampires are concerned. You suddenly appear and at the same moment, your master resurfaces to wreak havoc. You expect me to believe that this is a coincidence? If you believe me to have any influence on a millennia-old monster, I am sorry to say that you are grossly overestimating my reach, Anatole. Who knows what dark sorcery led to the death of my mentor? There is no deep secret, knight. He went after my master and perished, like legions before him, and more after, no matter how many die by his hand. He was supposed to be weakened. He had to receive some help. And this highly hypothetical help must have come from me, an isolated young vampire with no knowledge of sorcery and no means, operating thousands of miles away? Truly astute of you. Perhaps you used the key of Beria. The artifact that wasn't found until yesterday. That key? And where is it now? Are you going to keep spewing baseless slander until you find something that sticks? I am the knight, I ask the questions here. Do you have in your possession the key of Beria, an artifact of great danger? No. I add between gritted teeth. This insufferable, obnoxious prick. Come, Ariane, let Suarez handle this. I do not want to risk my friends. No? Where is it then? I destroyed it. You destroyed? How? With your bare hands. No, the Watcher took it. He scoffs. Surely, Lord Suarez, you can see that she is either lying or delusional. The Cadiz Lord does not answer. He looks at me with a contemplative expression before returning his attention to the head knight. You have made a lot of accusations, Anatole, most of them so completely groundless as to be preposterous. The way the events unfold makes me think more of a pithy revenge for the loss of a mentor than the act of a reliable new leader dedicated to keeping us safe. How dare you? Exclaims Anatole, his aura flaring. Easily, young one. Suarez lets go of his control and his frigid power blasts all others like a father castigating rowdy children. All three mortals by my side swear softly, each in their own language, as the cold wave washes over us. I shiver. Such power. I dare much, and you would do well to remember that your position is not as secure as you may think. Anatole shows apprehension for the first time, but not for long. Soon, his haughty face returns with a vengeance. It matters not, she is persona non grata on the entire territory. Her execution has been approved by no other than Constantine himself. What? I sputter. How? This is impossible. He knew of me beforehand. He even sent me an invitation to the next conclave. I cannot believe this, I refuse. You lie. Oh, I wish I could wipe that smirk off his face. He is a cad and a scoundrel, trying to finagle his way. There's absolutely no way that Constantine would sign this. This sham. And yet he did. See for yourself, Lord Suarez. I am stunned. Speechless. How is this happening? He lies, does he not? I gathered support, I played by the rules. What? Everything was fine. I was going to join the society of my peers after 10 long years. No longer an outcast. And now, the leader has signed my death warrant? Out of nowhere? Is this some cruel joke? I'm afraid not, Señorita. This is Constantine's seal. It cannot be counterfeited. No, this is wrong, this is all wrong. Now, Lord Suarez, step away and let us complete our mission, unless you want to raise your hand against a knight. There is a heavy pause as my ally digests the threatened thinly veiled insult. Anatole looks unbearably smug. I would be furious but cannot. Between the grief, my still aching wounds and now this? I must be asleep, there is no other explanation. I am living a nightmare. Surely, the world would not be so cruel. Suarez turns to me and smiles sadly. Please say now, Rita, remember what I said. Stay with your friends and do not fight, understood? Remember my oath. Words escape me, so I just nod. A wise decision, says Anatole as he sidesteps the Cadiz vampire. Now. Oh, but we are not done. The entire squad freezes and tenses at once. Even I can feel the threat, no, the promise of violence in the Lord's voice. You played politics to achieve your petty goal, thus forfeiting the protection that your status entails. You would not dare. You parrot the same sentence again, child. With a single word, Suarez reminds all present of the gap between himself and the others. And you do not understand. Do you think the knights will go to war with my coven to protect you? Yes. Not if I leave most of you alive. I will receive at most a slap on the wrist. You would fight us? For her. I owe her a debt of gratitude, one I fully intend to repay. I owe you nothing but contempt for what you just did, and one last thing. Suarez positions himself between the knights and us. You mocked me, disrespected me before friend and foe. I cannot let it slide. You will bear the stigma of this mistake in your soul, and in your flesh. This is folly. Wait. Too late, mongrel. Draw. I struggle to understand the combat that follows. The Cadiz Lord aura washes over us like a tidal wave, and a furious battle is joined. The four knights react immediately. They move as a single unit in complex and ever-flowing formations. The woman provides some subtle magical support I cannot identify, while the men alternate to contain their opponent. Anatole takes point with a black sword and dagger that appeared seemingly out of nowhere with a shield bearer and support, ready to step up when he is pushed back. The playful man with the stilettos circles around, constantly looking for an opening. He is quick to strike and quick to retreat, always playing interference. In front of them, Suarez fights like a swordmaster. He has tempered fury and perfection in motion. Their dance is one I can barely follow and cannot understand. Their every movement is a complex dialogue and sequences that elude me, and I now realize the wall that separates me from them. They are not just faster than me, they are not simply godly fencers, they are also drawing on decades, nay, centuries of experience fighting their own kind. Every savage strike is also an expert move from a brilliant choreography. Every cunning feint is turned into a merciless attack if ignored. I am the witness to a spectacle that is as beautiful as it is daunting, and I am glad I did not try to fight the knights. They would have wiped the floor with me in mere moments, even if I were at the top of my form. I had felt a sense of power after slaying the herald. I heard Isaac say that someone attuned with the key could go toe-to-toe with the Lord. Clearly, they must have consumed more than a small village and used the artifact for longer than a single night. I am out of my depth and witness, powerlessly, the contest that will decide my fate. At first, Lord Suarez seems to have the upper hand as he manages to land a few blows that his opponents struggle to heal. For a while, Anatole is hard-pressed and his ally almost drops his axe. The Cadiz Lord even manages to feint beautifully to catch the knife holder in the heart and through the armor, disabling him with a single strike. Shortly thereafter, the tides of battle change. With an overhead strike from his obsidian-colored blade, Anatole catches his foe's blade with an ominous clang. It is too much for Suarez's sword. It shatters in myriad pieces. The knight leader follows up with a slash that draws a bloody line across my ally's chest. Lord Suarez steps back. Not bad at all, for a second-rate team. It is over, Lord Suarez. You fought impressively but your sword is broken. You are defenseless. None of us are ever truly defenseless, fool. You should have remembered that. Just as you should always expect a battle lord to carry a soul weapon. Soul weapon? Are those the black weapons vampire lords pull out of nowhere? Suarez takes a step forward and the three remaining fighters huddle protectively as he speaks in an unnaturally loud voice. His presence fills the clearing with an overwhelming sense of pressure. Even standing behind him, I must struggle to resist bending my back and lowering my eyes. Such is the power of a lord. I tested your mettle and found it wanting, Anatole. You do not have the means of your arrogance. I am sure that your elders taught you the importance of diplomacy and subtlety, but perhaps you forgot. I shall remind you of it, as it is a lesson that you need to learn if you ever want to last. No need to thank me, I will do it with pleasure. Suarez straightens and breathes deeply. A massive ornamented two-hander appears between his hands, held vertically in front of him. The hilt is silvery and elegant, but its surface absorbs the very light, while the very air shakes before it as an ominous hum covers the clearing. Just like Loth when he is truly angry, there is an unspeakable weight to it that goes beyond the mere physical world. The Cadiz Lord will now impose his will on the reality around him and nothing, not Anatole screaming orders, not the axeman charging him, not even the sorceress begging will stop. When he next speaks, the two words cover everything else. Magna Arca. What happens next defies description. Suarez's eyes flash purple and then, he strikes. His sword bisects the heavier knight from right shoulder to waist, through shield, weapon, and armor. I did not see him move. His opponent falls instantly. Without pause, he slices horizontally behind him and catches Anatole mid-lunge. The monstrous attack cuts cleanly through the leader's chest as well as his right arm, and sends his own sword spinning in the darkness. The clearing goes quiet as the witch gives up and falls to her knees. The entire exchange lasted less than a heartbeat. Holy shit, whispers Merritt. Well, yes. Quite. My ally turns to the last remaining member of the squad. Will you fight as well? No, Lord, I would rather make sure they are safe. Thank you for sparing their lives. I mistakenly assumed her to be a coward, but it appears that she merely possesses common sense. Take them and leave. As you say. We watch quietly as she collects her companion's disheartened pieces. Now that the show is over and done, the reality of the situation overwhelms me once more. Why? Why would you do that? I say accusingly, I thought knights were our vanguards, the true monster slayers. The witch spares me a glance. How many spawns of the Devours have laid havoc and how many have become members of our society? Knowing which category I belong to would have taken your squad all at 5 minutes, hypocrite. She will not meet my eyes. I obey. Pathetic. Spineless weakling. Why Amena wants to join their sorry excuse for an outfit, I shall never know. A moment later, we are alone in the clearing. This is all too surreal. We just witnessed a cataclysmic battle and all that remains is a handful of blood marks. There's also the small matter of my life, my entire project, being in shambles. Constantine's invitation? I might as well fold it and use it as a napkin. Unbelievable. What now? Now, you must flee. Is this some sort of cosmic farce? I worked so much for this, waited for so long. Is there no other way? I am sorry. So, this was all for nothing. All my efforts. Ruined. Well, this is not entirely true. I have made friends and allies, have grown stronger, experienced much. Even though I must run away again, I am no longer the weak fledgling who struggled to survive. And I am not destitute either. Is there a way to reverse an execution order? Suarez blinks in surprise, perhaps not expecting me to recover so fast. I haven't, I just need something to look forward to. Perhaps. I have not studied the Accords beyond what is expected of me. There must be a way, and I shall find it. Lord Suarez, I thank you for your help. Consider your debt repaid. Not yet, young one, he replies with a smile, I intend to send you on your way. Your companions cannot follow, so I would advise you to say your farewell now. I shall wait for you over there. The first to come to me is Loth. He looks sad and also a bit awkward. I imagine that the old warlord is not used to expressing his feelings, unless they relate to fighting, sex, or food. I cannot follow you. I know. Take care of your family, and we will meet again. I promise. You'd better. You and I, we can do great things together. Also, I'll miss you. Tyre. Loth dries his eyes with a handkerchief. Be safe. Don't do anything too reckless. Well, you know me. I'm the very soul of caution. There is a moment of silence before we both chuckle. I'll go before I turn into a moppy milk drinker. Don't forget your promise. You carry the boy's memory too now. I nod and we hug. Loth then turns to leave and Nashoba joins me. This is goodbye, daughter of Thurin and Hunger. You should go west, and north. This is as good direction as any, I suppose. No, it is much better, trust me. I can see the future, yes. I will carry your friend's ashes to the sea. He will be at peace. You have my word. Thank you. Take care as well. I will, and do not worry, we shall meet again. Keep those earrings on at all times. My hands go to his gift. I wear them as a habit now. I only now come to realize how useful they must have been. I have no idea how many times they have protected me, only that they will save me once more. When the knights inevitably try to track me, they will have to do it the old-fashioned way. I wish them good luck. They will need it. So that was intense, yeah. Merit. She really pulled through. I am pleasantly surprised. Thank you, Maj Merit. You stood by my side, our side, through everything. You were a credit to your organization and mages everywhere. I am glad you were here. Wow. Do you really mean that? For some reason, she appears moved to tears. I do not understand, is she letting the general mood affect her? Yes. Yes, I do. Wow, this is the nicest thing someone has said to me in forever. Huh. That is rather pathetic. It is well deserved. In my case, I must bid you goodbye and I wish you good luck. She bites her lip, considering. Before she follows that specific thought, I cut her off. You cannot follow. I will be going too fast. Yes, I know. It's just, I admire you. You stand up for yourself so much, and you are so confident and strong. Can't we stay in touch? Exchange letters? Well, yes, of course. Via the Rosenthal Consortium. Get in touch with them. Her happiness is a curious thing. I never realized I could matter so much to someone without trying to, not since Loth anyway. Not if they know what I am. I take a step back and realize that all my belongings are somewhere else. I only have my mask and the ruined dress left, as well as my 2 pendants and the pair of earrings. I am ready. I announce to Suarez. Then follow. And what is this? Before me is a majestic horse with a black coat and surprisingly red eyes. He is bound to a tree, his saddles bulging with supplies. Is that? Yes, young one. A nightmare. Isaac left it to you, as well as most of your clothes from the camp, I believe. He assured me that the rest would be stored safely until you find a place to call yours again. Excellent. What is its name? Her name is Metis and she's a gift fit for a king. Let me guide you through the bonding phase. And then you can go. 5 minutes later I am riding full speed west, with the wind in my face and the grace of the immortal. Wee. Faster Metis, faster. Chapter 49, September 1813. Message to Isaac of the Rosenthal. Metis as well. Marquette, Illinois. A. December 1813. Melody, after reviewing your project, you will be pleased to learn that the board has approved your loan, with a 1-year grace period before interest is collected. You will find the signed agreement, as well as a reminder of our terms and conditions in separate documents. We wish you all the best in your endeavor. Best regards, Andrew Mills, Manager for the Rosenthal Consortium, Branch of Savannah. December 21, 1831, Marquette, Illinois. Below my bedroom's largest window, I placed a mahogany desk. The delicate furniture is an expensive and wasteful affair I gifted myself last summer as a well-deserved treat for my birthday. Its surface has not been clear since then, always cluttered with messages, invoices, and orders I must countersign. Tonight, the right-hand pile will remain untouched. Tonight, I dedicate my time to contemplation. I lined the walls with some of my best paintings. The Eye, my favorite rendition of the Herald, a portrait of Dalton, another one of Lowth. Those are the personal paintings, while the rabble downstairs contents themselves with my landscapes and other portraits. There is even a single piece of poetry under a protective glass case, a sonnet in Alexandrines written by a passing artist singing the glory of my rear. That one made me laugh. The four-poster bed with a goose feather mattress, I seldom use, just like the vanity with its attached mirror. They serve to keep appearances in case somebody manages to break in. The two wardrobes are packed. I too have a reputation to uphold, one that requires a flawless appearance. Right now, I am wearing a blue winter gown with an ermine collar as I stare over the city. 2 winters in a row now, the entire state has been covered in thick snow. Travel is almost impossible, and I expect that when it thaws, we will have to recover the corpses of the unwary and the unfortunate. The fluffy white mantle hangs over everything, and even the dark soot of burnt coal has yet to mar its pristine beauty. For a few more hours, the alabaster cloth will mask the truth of what this city is, a rotten chethal. White powder to hide away the decrepitude like heavy makeup on an old whore. I appreciate the moment while it lasts. Then somebody knocks on the door. I sigh deeply and resist the urge to crumple the fragile letter in my hand, the one telling me of Father's death 3 years ago to this day. I take one last look outside and enjoy the scent of jasmine and burning log, the crisp air inside before it is polluted. Come in. Margaret's vixen face appears as I knew it would. She searches the dim room with her pitch-black eyes. Margaret. Mistress. Did I not leave specific instructions that I should not be disturbed? Yes, but... She swallows nervously. You also said to fetch you if the Alvaro were to come again. They are here. 3 brothers. H.M. Michael and George and Gabriel. Those. 2 archangels and 1 king. Pretentious. Very well. I will go. And mistress? H.M. You might want to check Patrick. I think he has been drinking. I wait a few seconds before answering. You may go. She closes the door and scurries away, to prepare her promotion, no doubt. Margaret is my best cattle, and I believe she may have been Lancaster vampire material. That, or she is just a cunning, backstabbing harridan. I cannot decide which. This is, in essence, what cattle are. After 3 bites they lose most of their autonomy and only exist to serve us. The fires of ambition and inspiration in their soul is smothered. Their entire existence is reduced to menial tasks and spying on each other to improve their standing. I turned her into this because the twit poisoned my wine. I did Patrick because he tried to swindle me. They remain the most proactive of those I took in, and I placed them in charge of the dozen I keep around at all times. Sadly, their blood is just as insipid as their personalities. I wish I could have a vassal, but unsurprisingly, it takes a deep connection between vampire and mortal to form such a bond. The deepest connections I formed since my arrival consisted of my hand in someone's rib cage, and I do not see it changing any time soon. I suspect that masters can have several, though I remember Barduen mentioning that only one can become the servant and thus escape old age for a life of servitude. I step out of my room and in the corridor to the view of Margaret's quickly retreating back. The alley is decorated by my paintings in actual plaster, with doors on both sides leading to storage closets and the staff's personal quarters. I follow it to the end, then down the set of stairs. The Dream is 4 stories high with 3 wings around an inner court. It is the largest building in 100 miles in any direction, not that the south of Illinois abounds with those. I am about to reach the 3rd floor when I come across a nervous Patrick climbing up. He sees me and stops. Under the stench of stale sweat, sex and unwashed bodies, I detect the subtle hint of expensive liquor. Patrick. The Weaselly man freezes in his tracks, not even daring to move. Mistress? Turn around. If the man gets any more scared, I fear he may soil his pants. Human excrement is not something I wish to add to the already fragrant bouquet I submit myself to. Choose. Mistress? I slap him. He manages to cushion his head with an arm before it impacts the wall. Blood drips down his crooked nose. Chews. A finger. He shakily extends his hand. I grab the index and snap it. Ignoring his scream of pain, I drag him by his broken digit until he kneels before me. I can tolerate mistakes but not deception. One more incident and you will join Russell and the others, and I would hate to ask John to dig a grave in this weather. Do I make myself clear? Yes, mistress. You will give the key to the pantry and cave to Margaret. Yes, mistress. After one last twist, I leave the whimpering failure behind. Such a waste of my time. 2 more landings and I am on the ground floor. Normally, the noise coming from the saloon eclipses even the moans and giggles of the upper floors. Tonight, it is unusually quiet. Even the piano stopped playing. John is waiting at the bottom with an iron poker and a big goofy smile. He cleans the drool from his cleft lip and bows. Miss Lethe. Good evening, John, I see you remember. Thank you. The man nods frantically with a delicate blush. John is an interesting find. He is without a doubt the tallest and strongest man in town by a wide margin. He is also one of the ugliest men I ever had the misfortune of ever meeting. I wish I could say he's the stupidest. He is not, but he is close. I remember. September 7, 1831. If they come back, bam. What John is explaining in his own words is my previous banishment of the Alvaro brothers from the dream on threat of death, by strenuous application of the aforementioned implement. John's memory is simply uncanny. His ability to process information, not so much. With the poker held by my side, I enter the main room and calmly walk towards the bar where the trio is drinking. They are back to the oaken strip. Gabriel, the eldest, is pointing an old pistol at the crowd while the 2 others nurse glasses and glance around nervously. The customers and girls alike stare at them and I can see quite a few predatory smirks. Those are not the delicate gentlemen and ladies of the East Coast, but godless frontier folk, and they're always eager for a free bloody show. When Gabriel spots me, he swings the pistol in my direction, and I catch a glimpse of the pan. Truly, it is a miracle that the entire Alvaro bloodline is not extinguished yet by the result of their sheer incompetence. A mistake that nature made and that I shall remedy myself. Well, and who graces my establishment tonight? You bitch, we go where we want. You don't get to order us around, you know who we are? As a matter of fact, I do. I remember telling you to leave and never return, or else. Isn't that right, Gabriel? You don't get to tell us that. We're the Alvaro. You got to respect us. You're just a nasty slut, who cares what you want? Ain't that right? I have almost reached them yet. I could charm them into begging. I could make them leave with their tails between their legs, but I will not. I made a public promise, one I fully intend to fulfill. Their fate was sealed the moment they stepped into my domain without my leave. I do have a reputation to uphold after all, and the fancy clothes are only a part of it. I said, if you come back here, I will break your skulls with an iron poker. I am close now, just barely out of arm's reach. I don't see no iron poker, you whore. I slightly extend my right arm until the entire room sees the implement. A collective intake of breath and a few expressions of admiration welcome the barbaric statement. Gabriel panics, he lifts his pistol and pulls the trigger. The flint erupts in a rain of sparks as the people behind me yell in dismay. Nothing happens. That inbred cretin forgot to close the pan. His powder is on the ground somewhere. My strike catches him in the temple with a resounding crack. There is a trick to applying strength in public as a vampire. I only need to move at human speed and let the weapon's weight do the job for me. A two-handed swing takes care of George on the right, and a downward strike cracks Michael's head as he kneels by his sibling's side. For a beautiful moment, the room is filled and yet perfectly silent, then the mob lets loose. Cheers, jeers and laughter bloom at my back as I drop the poker without a care. I approach my barman under tumultuous applause. He is cleaning glass as if nothing of note had occurred. Oscar. The man is a black Freeman, an oddity around here. Light from the candle shines on his bald head. He raises sad brown eyes to me and nods in appreciation. I'm sorry for giving them booze, Miss Lethe. They threatened me with that gun. Did you give them the cheapest swill? Of course. Good man. He returns to work and I approach the main entrance just as my men step in to get rid of the corpses. I smile pleasantly at the revelers complimenting me. Ice cold, miss. You sure showed them. Did not even flinch. A man with a black beard and a brutish face is waiting right outside. Horrigan. Boss. Those three must have cut away through the snow to come to town. Take 3 teams and go to the Alvaro estate. Kill all the adults, take the kids, and burn the house down. Even old Mary Alvaro. Especially her. Now go. Yes, ma'am. I turn around. Horrigan is a brute and also the leader of my private army. There are around 20 of them at any time, a costly investment but one I can afford. The unruly pack will loot the place, but they will also do as I ordered. I step back inside and use a side passage to return to my room unhindered. I meet a few couples on my way up. The men remove their hats and my girls curtsy, as I instructed. This should soothe me, yet it does not. The calm is gone. Well, I might as well do some paperwork. This concludes the meeting. Anyone else has anything to add? Horrigan is already trying to escape and frowns as Kitty, the one in charge of the girls, raises a hand. He is not a fan of work, especially the kind that requires a brain. Preparations for the Christmas party would go better if your, personal staff helped us shovel snow. Margaret fixes her. If looks could kill. Very well, the men only. Kitty dips her head and soon my assistants file out. There is Horrigan for security, Kitty for the girls, Oscar for the entertainment side, and old Martha for food and cleaning. Margaret is present as well, though their role is separate. When I settled here, I realized that there were very few positions of authority for women that did not start with wife off, so I became a madam. I run a brothel. If my father had learned of it, he would have died of embarrassment. As for me, I don't really care that much. It is a means to an end, an excellent means besides. And the end is near. I just need 2 more years. My establishment, the Dream, was built with funds I borrowed from the consortium. That debt is now repaid several times over. Indeed, I am in the business of pleasure and illusion, and business is booming. Mine is the only place of entertainment in the surrounding 3 counties, the only destination where one can forget about their miserable existence, their back-breaking labor or their nagging wife. This is the grandest building in all of Marquette, larger and more lavish than both the mines office and town hall together. For a week's pay, workers and farmhands can come and drink rotgut in fancy glasses of fake crystal, served from ornate bottles by beautiful women who pretend to care. With only a handful of coins, they will find comfort in arms smelling of cheap perfume and wake up the next day just as miserable but with their mood, their purse, and their testicles lighter. Their aspirations are fulfilled, if only for an evening. All of their aspirations. The Dream is well provisioned. They want shy brunettes? I have them. Prissy blondes? Got them too. They want plump girls dressed in farm clothes they bend over to fulfill a cousin fantasy? They can. Refined ladies pretending to slum it to get their freak on. I got them as well, with quality acting delivered by the daughters of expert conmen. I got redheads, I got auburn, I even got gray. Fat and slim, tall and small, luscious or boyish, I have them all. They want a black woman? No problem. A native? A Chinese? Right this way, sir. They want food served. I have all the ribs they will ever need. I have beer, whiskey, gin and wine. I have music and dancers. I have games and jokes and all they will ever need to live the dream, to feel successful, to feel that they matter. And when dawn comes and the shining rays of the sun show the cracks in the wall painting and the imperfection on the bar's varnish, their money is already on its way to my office. Leading this small empire is not an easy task though. This is a company. We sell services and the logistics alone is already a nightmare. The amount of food required to satisfy almost 300 people on busy nights is truly staggering, and this is without even considering cleaning. Before starting this, I had no idea how much effort is required to wash 150 sheets, and well, let's just say that if a Mer woman lives downstream, she's pregnant. Growing and managing the massive structure has been a formative experience, and I have a newfound respect for Isaac. Tonight is a town council night. As the owner and sole proprietor of the Dream, I count as one of the city's top dogs, which I guess makes me the alpha bitch. The big wheels gather once per week to discuss their domain's ongoing affairs and align to solve them. This goes from funding public works to handling disgruntled employees or undesirables, an initiative made necessary by the frontier's unequal rule of law. Until tonight, that is. I leave Horrigan and John in the town hall's entrance. A woman alone is a tempting target for those who do not know better, therefore I bring them along to intimidate people. And it works. I ordered John to smile and remain silent when people talk to him. The resulting facial expression is an abominable rictus that does not reach his eyes. As long as he doesn't utter a word, he appears dangerous instead of just plain stupid. I left no instructions to Horrigan, he only needs to be himself. The council room is a stuffy fume wire with heavy leather couches. The walls are yellowed by years of cigar smoke and the center is occupied by a coffee table cluttered with alcohol bottles, often emptied and changed. Inebriation makes my colleagues more amenable, most of the time. I highly suspect this will not apply to the newcomer. Ah, here you are, huh? Miss Lethe, meet our new judge, the Honorable Mr. Richard Sullivan. Splendid, huh? Yes, now, order will finally come to our beloved city, huh? Isn't that right, Mr. Sullivan? The mayor is a short and plump man with a sweet disposition. Under his affable air lies a shrewd businessman, one with probity, according to local standards. His striped suit flares around the middle, making him bottom-heavy. By contrast, the newcomer is dressed in black with a top hat, gloves and an entirely black suit with a white shirt. He is tall, with white hair and an abundant white beard, and painfully thin. Two pale blue eyes peer down an aquilite nose. His tone is glacial. Yes. Quite. A silver cross hangs on his tie. Not from the Brotherhood, thankfully, or our collaboration would have been brief indeed. Thankfully, I know how to handle his kind without leaving a corpse. I curtsy respectfully and offer my hand in greeting. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Judge Sullivan. And here is the thing, scorning me would not only be unbecoming of a gentleman in public, it would also insult the mayor, his host. After a slight hesitation, Sullivan relents and holds my hand. He bows slightly in a gesture that is calculated to convey disdain. I have heard much about you and your establishment, Miss Lethe. Only good things, I hope? I add, ever the pleasant host. It is a den of sin. You mean, prostitution? So, you do not deny it? No. My calm statement takes him by surprise, and I use the distraction to push him further. We live on the frontier, Judge Sullivan. Those are hardy and persistent folks, but they have base instincts. I merely offer them a safe and clean place to relax and ply their trade. You attempt to present adultery as something inevitable. Ah, but we both know that if your constituents were all respectable citizens, your task would be significantly easier, would it not? I understand that you would see the Dream as a tool of chaos and evil, but you could not be further from the truth. When I came here, these women were living in poorly lit and filthy barns while the men were drinking dangerous concoctions made by smugglers and criminals. The squalor of their living conditions was appalling, and every year, many would die to disease and exposure. The Dream brought civilization, such as it is, to those poor people. We provide a safe environment for them to channel their impulses. As a man of law, I believe that you can appreciate our contribution to peace and order in this town. Certainly, their time would be better spent attending church rather than a house of ill repute. I am afraid that this would be the purview of Pastor Van Tassel. Ah, here he is. An older gentleman in a dark ensemble joins us at the table, soon followed by a dour bald man who manages the city's coal mine for some Chicago firm. Mrs. Lethe is right, I'm afraid. I fight an uphill battle to save the souls of those lost lambs. At the very least, her financial contribution to the church helped us repair it last winter so my efforts could continue. Of course, I would fund the local church. I do need the priest off my back, not to mention that he likes curvy women and role play. Interestingly, so does his wife. An undisciplined rebel is what they are. Harumph the mayor, it takes all of Miss Lethe and Pastors Van Tassel's efforts to keep them in line. Why, just yesterday an entire farm was burnt to the ground as part of a criminal's quarrel, no doubt. Ahem. You have your task cut out for you, Judge Sullivan. You can, of course, count on all our help. He continues. Humph. The righteous man is not convinced by their arguments in my favor, but he is mellowed, and that will be enough for a first contact. As in most things political, I will take my time, erode determinations and enmities by making them too costly to maintain. In truth, immortality grants me a unique mindset to appreciate long-term goals. So many decisions are motivated by biological imperatives to find fortune, a good party, or to leave a legacy to one's children within a few years. I do not disdain mortals for it, quite the contrary. So many great deeds are carried out through the motivation a limited lifespan offers. Short-sightedness is only an unfortunate and unavoidable side effect of this condition, and with no vampires around, insults slide off me like water. Betrayals are nothing but amusing distractions I need to repay in a particularly inventive and cruel manner. Finally, if the offenders decide it wiser to leave town, they never reach the next one. Metis and I make sure of it. A slow stream of notables joins us until all are present or excused. I remain the only woman present, to the general indifference of all. It appears mortals can get used to anything, with time. Judge Sullivan introduces himself and what he stands for through a concise speech mentioning God far too many times for my taste, and justice too few. Our discussions then lead to the town's Christmas celebrations. Van Tassel and I mention our respective preparations, and the meeting is soon adjourned. I never truly appreciated cold before. I feel it in my bones, but it is no longer uncomfortable, nor distressing. Instead of shivers and lethargy, I enjoy the crisp air and silence only broken by feet trudging through snow. Then we reach the dream and I am hit by a sensory wall. Bright lights, loud music, the overwhelming stench of sweat, stale sex and unwashed bodies. Spilled booze mingles with cheap tobacco in a concerted effort to saturate my mind. I immediately turn to a side door to escape the main room before one of our patrons gathers enough courage to accost me. Miss R.E. Yes, John. Your head hurts? How can he be so perceptive yet so dumb? A most peculiar man. No, the music is just too loud. The towering giant nods wisely, or his version of wise anyway. Horgan sneers but remains quiet. Once, I ordered John to execute a man who had shot one of our girls. The simpleton placed his hands around his victim's skull and crushed it like an overripe melon. Since that fateful moment, not a man has seen it wise to test or bully my self-proclaimed bodyguard. I will retire to my room. You two enjoy your evening. I close the door behind me. Finally, blessed quiet, and the light scent of cleanliness and jasmine, and wood smoke, and roses. There is an envelope on my bed. Nest compromised. Find the intruder and kill it. Kill it now. Margaret. Feet scurry outside, only to stop at the door. I bang it open and take her by her devious, lying throat. Who came here? Who? No. Please. HSSSSS. No one. No one, I swear. A small gathering of cattle is now watching us. Who came in here? No one, mistress. They all shake their heads. They look scared, terrified even, but I detect no signs of duplicity. No shifty eyes, no one trying to avoid attention. They are all looking around trying to catch another lying, eager to curry my favor. I even forbid them from entering, and as far as I know, cattle cannot, and will not disobey a direct order. Very well. Wait here. I go back in and look around the room. The windows are sealed, and cannot be opened from the outside. I inspect all four of them without finding any sign of tampering. There are no magical auras either. Not even from the envelope. Margaret. Find anyone who came to this floor while I was away and bring them to me. Very well, mistress. The letter smells of roses. I open it and read its content, a single piece of paper covered in a flowery script I do not recognize. Dear Princess, your problem is more than skin deep. With love, an admirer. What in the name of the watcher? Miss? Yes, Margaret. They're here, and I heard some terrible news. Do tell. Old Man Roger has been assassinated. Old Man Roger does not matter. His assassination does. I do not tolerate any bloodletting on my territory unless I am the instigator, and so I decide to head out immediately. Interrogation will have to wait. I leave the house with John in tow. The murder occurred near the northern entrance to the town on a large square surrounded by warehouses where convoys unload their wares. The southern entrance is mostly used to load coal and is easily recognizable by its spoil pile, an artificial dark valley devoid of plant life where the mine dumps its rejects. When we arrive, we find a small gathering even at this late hour. They part to let us through, and I find that I am late to the party. The doors to one of the warehouses are wide open, the interior lit, and in it, I find men surrounding what I assume is Roger's corpse. Ms. Lethe, would you mind explaining what on earth do you think you're doing here? This is no place for a woman. Judge Sullivan. The man is surrounded by 4 men in heavy cloth and identical leather coats with martial stars, quite likely men he named himself. None of them are locals, which tells a lot about Judge Sullivan's trust in local law enforcement and his willingness to be part of our community. I wanted to know if the dreadful rumors I heard about old Roger have any truth to them. He did some work for us after all. His well-being concerns me. The man scoffs slightly, but he questions my sincerity and not my motive, and that is all I care about. As for me, I know the rumors to be true. The scent of carrion and blood is heavy on the air. See for yourself. The men step back. On the ground lies old Roger, or to be precise, what is left of him. He has been savaged with full pieces of meat and most of the innards missing, while the skin of his face has been peeled off and removed. Only his signature hat, his pipe and a missing right eye ascertain his identity. I have seldom seen such cadavers outside of animal attacks, and this is simply impossible here. You do not seem shocked. I raise my eyes to meet the judge's inquisitive brown eyes. I have seen worse, in animal attacks. Did you now? And do you believe this to be an animal attack? Ah, time to decide. Do I gracefully dodge the question, or do I make myself look competent? This is a defining moment, one that will shape our future relationship for the next 2 years. What do I want? I want him to consider me as an off man. I have seen it before. Many of the more religious men see women as incapable of holding a business or dealing with violence. When confronted with me, those beliefs conflict with observable facts, and when it happens, they simply discard me as an anomaly. I become an off man, someone who was conceived without dangling parts by some divine clerical error. Competence it is. Not at all, sir. Explain. An old man is always surrounded by a pool of blood. Here the ground is mostly dry, so he was not killed here. No beast large enough to inflict this type of wound would move the body, not to mention they would never reach this far into the city, nor open a gate. What if an animal killed him and dropped the body here? Unlikely. There are no blood trails. And something is clearly missing. He blinks. I hear his heartbeat accelerate in excitement. What is? Is he not tired of testing me? Bite marks. Roger's corpse has been cut apart by claws or a claw-like instrument, but there are no teeth marks. Look at the chest. The pieces of flesh here and there have been clearly carved out but not bitten. It cannot possibly be the work of a beast. The marshals all bend down to get a better look, a few looking a bit green around the gills. Sullivan's eyes widen and I realize my mistakes. They had not noticed yet. I hope I did not present myself as too competent. The judge takes a step forward, only for John to cross his arms at my side. I classify John crossing his arms as a spectator sport. When he does it, many men realize that waists are not that thick. They stare in wonder and their eyes drift up to a face even a mother would not love, which explains why he was abandoned as a kid. Then John smiles. Sullivan wisely decides to take a step back from the man who might very well be Illinois' second highest altitude after Charles Mount and asks his question from afar. How does a woman know all of that? Because my 800-years-old Virga friend taught me how to recognize monsters from their victims. Because I grew up in a farm, Judge Sullivan. I saw dead sheep and dead horses, and it was nothing quite like that. Technically correct. So he was killed somewhere else. It cannot be far since he was still alive 3 hours ago. No way. Too rotted. He was. Yes, he and other drivers. Sullivan stops abruptly and with a blush of embarrassment, realizes he is giving precious information to a civilian, and worse. One who wears petticoats. Thank you for your assistance, Ms. Lethe. Now I will ask you to clear the scene. I nod and gracefully make my exit, my bodyguard in tow. Someone killed Mr. Roger. Mr. Roger gave me treacle twice and tobacco 4 times. It is a rare thing for John to speak first. The death must trouble him a lot. Who killed Mr. Roger, Ms. Ari? A monster. One who can mask his aura. Are you going to kill it? Of course. Chapter 50 Behind the Dream. 2 minutes on foot eastward, one can find a small shop called the Seamstress Union. Every month, a cart makes the rounds of nearby farms to drop off spools of cotton thread and pick up finished cloth. The best are dyed and sold here to Marquette's more affluent citizens, under the watchful eye of its proprietor. Good evening, Debbie. Miss Lethe. Deborah frowns. I'd like to think that, if I had stayed human, I would have been a bit like her. She has 5 children and a loving husband, a flourishing business, and bears her age with beauty and dignity. The gray in her auburn hair and the crow's feet by her dark eyes fail to extinguish her charm. She carries herself with poise and confidence. She is also an untrained mage. I can feel in her the telltale aura of spellcasters. Perhaps because we are far from large cities, she never had any magical education and her potential only manifests in one curious quirk. She can spot lies in mortals. What is tonight's guess? Sophia. Wrong again. One day I'll find out what your first name is. Don't bother, it's Fernand. Truly. No, it is Berenice. You're making a fool of me. She pretends to scowl, then we both chuckle. How do I even know that you will respect your promise? I still cannot tell when you deceive me. I gave you my word. She snorts with bitter amusement. Who respects her promises nowadays? I do. Our eyes meet and though I do not use charm, she recoils and shivers. She is quite perceptive despite her lack of formal training, sensitive enough to pick up when my own aura flares. I hold my promises, oh yes. All of them. You are one strange woman, Miss Lethe. I will accept this as the compliment I am sure this was meant to be. Ah yes, of course. She answers, lowering her eyes. I need to remember to blink more often. I did not mean to be intimidating. There is something I would like to know. Yes? The caravan Roger was in, was there anyone new in it? The murders. Why can you never ask me about the latest gossip like everyone else? It's always dark things with you. Someone has to ask, or nothing is ever solved. Speaking of which, I would like my answer now. Yes, sorry. It was only the old team. They struggled to make their way here from Springfield through all that snow and I don't think they could have us our way. Not unless it could have gotten its water from sucking icicles. Fair enough, tell me of Mrs. Tucker's death. She shivers and crosses herself. I resist the urge to hiss softly. Dreadful affair, that. She was found in her bedroom earlier today if you will believe it, only a few hours after attending Mrs. Callahan's tea party. Did you go to her house? I did. Unfortunately, the body had been picked up and dragged to the morgue under the judge's office. He made it clear to his doorman that I was persona non grata. There was only a pool of congealed blood in her study, a sure sign that she was slaughtered on location. It was old as well, at least a day. Pushing you away, is he? Don't you think you ought to let him work? I know that John of yours is a fearsome lad, but it may not be enough this time if that madman comes after you. 2 persons were butchered, Debbie. People are scared, and when they tend to do unwise things. But it's good for your business, right? Desperate people do things to feel alive. So, it's not too bad. I stop flat and study my counterpart. This was odd. For a mortal, valuing profit over gruesome death is considered amoral. I know she is not, and her tone is slightly hesitant. Why would she ever risk appearing callous? Unless. Are you worried about me? The mask breaks and she explodes. Dear Lord, woman, this is not your duty. Do you know how horrible the town center was before you settled in? I remember it well. What happens if the maniac goes after you and your dunce of a bodyguard misses him? Everything will go to hell, again. Calm your nerves, Debbie, I have taken precautions. Should I disappear, the dream will be taken over by people I trust. Everybody may be replaceable, Ms. Lethe, but not always by their match. Just keep it in mind before you end up way over your head. I shall take your advice under consideration. Now, the murder, please. You know, I don't need any intuition to know that was a crock of shit. I did not lie just now. I used a polite yet unambiguous way to tell you off. Debbie shakes her head and leans against the counter. A deep breath later, she returns her attention to me. I didn't want to tell you this. That old bat has been harping since yesterday about the dangers of accepting misfits and the inevitable fate that befalls those who frequent them. She insisted that God protected her because she was living a life of purity and avoided the congress of whores, witches, savages and foreigners. Charming. Is it not? It's almost as if she provoked whatever killed Roger, and the thing answered. We stare at each other, the silence pregnant with signs of dispute. Debbie cracks first. You're going to do it, aren't you? Set yourself as bait. It could work. Jesus Christ, I knew it. I will be careful. Right you are. Just get out. And don't you dare die on me, you hear? I wave goodbye as I turn around. Her concern is touching, but I am not exactly defenseless, and it has been too long since I had a proper meal. A welcoming party awaits my return to the dream, one I could have done without. Judge Sullivan. Miss Lethe, I was wondering if you could clarify some elements for me. Of course, would you like to step inside? I would rather not. 3 of his marshals moved to surround me and John in a thinly veiled gesture of intimidation. I raise one brow in mock surprise, then we wait in silence. I have perfected the effect of annoyed boredom over the years, and this is the expression I serve them now. Behind the judge, the gates of the dream open and a man steps out, then gets back in. Annoyed at the delay, Sullivan speaks first. 2 people have been horribly murdered in the past few days. Silence. I could not help but notice that old man Roger was working for you. Indirectly, yes. And? There are rumors that he stole merchandise destined for the dream. I shrug. It would not matter. We check every delivery and only pay for goods that actually enter storage. And Mrs. Tucker was quite vocal in her condemnation of your establishment. Her and quite a few others. While we were talking, a steady stream of armed men have been leaving the dream and casually taking position around our group. The marshals notice it, but too late. They are already surrounded and vastly outnumbered. They think they can pull an intimidation on me? Preposterous. Do not play coy with me, woman. I just arrived here and a killer butchers 2 citizens, whose disappearances favor you. It seems like somebody is killing 2 birds with 1 stone, removing opposition while making me look incompetent. Why would I produce any effort towards an end that you yourself pursue so relentlessly? You dare. Sullivan takes a step forward only for John to repel him with a small hand push. Despite my bodyguard's apparent restraint, the older man almost loses balance. Only his associates manage to hold him upright. Sullivan inflates with anger like a furious toad, but finally notices the dire straits he finds himself in. Most of my guards have completely encircled the lawman. They stand close enough that any conflict will end up with the defenders quickly overwhelmed. Sullivan realizes this, just as he realizes that quite a few patrons have come to witness the debacle. I could make an effort to salvage the man's honor. On the other hand, I have the perfect opportunity to impart some rules to the newcomer. About our respective balance of power, for example. I find it curious as well. The deaths occurred shortly after your arrival, after all. Perhaps a member of your party is a monster in human clothes. Scandalous. This. Slender. Just a theory, one that has as much merit as your own. More, perhaps. I have suffered insults from the likes of Tucker for more than a decade without ever losing composure. I have little reason to act now, especially because Mr. Tucker himself is one of our regulars. What? Surprised? You should not be. All of those gossips, the town's history, and information on its most influential members are easily acquired through simple conversations with your constituents. And yet you did not even bother. Instead, you brought your goons from out of town and strut around like a rooster, throwing empty theories in the winds. We, the town council, have kept order since your predecessor's untimely death, and you would do well to remember that we can still have you recalled. Now, if you will excuse me. I walk without resistance past the judge and his small squad with my men trailing behind. There are quite a few sniggers, and I hear the distinctive sound of organs spitting on someone's shoes. Lovely. And a waste of my time. I need a plan to have Sullivan expelled from the city just in case he perseveres in his error. Killing a judge would be messy, and I have reached my quota of mysterious disappearances for the year. One more hurdle. I walk to the bar and smile at the friendly greetings I receive. Removing my coat, I lean forward over the bar to a few appreciative ahs. Oscar nods in greeting. I need a rumor started. Yay. Make sure everyone hears that I think Roger's killer is a coward, that he would never have the balls to come here, and that my room is the safest place in the city. Safer than the bank vault. The head barman stops wiping a glass and fixes me with his sad chocolate eyes. You sure about this, boss? Very sure. All right then. I see how it is. Be careful though. I make my way to my bedroom. The truth is that I know too little about my target. I smell nothing inhuman around the bodies, nor were there any traces of ore nearby. The only elements I have come from the victims. First, the corpses were left in supposedly secured locations where they would inevitably be found. The warehouse has a large traffic, even now, and Mrs. Tucker's house is a normal place of gathering for righteous old harpies to eat cake, break wind and blame it on their rat-like dogs. This speaks of supreme self-confidence. The monster does not care to stay hidden, for it believes that the entire population is powerless to stop it, which leads to the second point. If the bodies are messages, then Roger was meant to announce its arrival and Tucker's, to show that no one is safe. My intuition tells me that my target's arrogance knows no bounds, and that it delights in putting a show. Clearly, it has never come face to face with a vampire. In any case, setting a bait should work better than running around and attempting to track a creature that can quite obviously hide its presence. In the meanwhile, there is the small matter of securing my bedroom against further visits from my secret admirer. Then I will teach him or her the meaning of boundaries, one phalanx at a time. One night later. All my preparations are complete. I reinforced my door with 2 more locks and installed one of my creations near every exit. Based on Loth's take on a magical capacitor, the tool is a piece of silver looking like a drill on one end, and a key on the other. Its function is simple. Any spell cast in its vicinity will be disrupted and its energies absorbed. It will allow me to circumvent my own lack of magical skill and hopefully provide a bit of a surprise to any spellcaster who will not expect it, should they attempt to gain ingress through supernatural means. An elegant solution, if I do say so myself. There are limits, of course. The range is extremely limited for one, and I also doubt that it will affect spells that are already cast. To guard my nest, it should be enough. In the end, I decided against placing mouse traps in strategic places. I would rather break those fingers myself. The last measure I took concerns my fellow hunter. She is ready and more than eager. and since everything is done I have no further excuses. Paperwork it is. I am not sure why I am billed 50 chicken, but there better be 50 damn chicken on that Christmas table or I know how I will use those feathers. I will even pay for the tar out of my own pocket. A pair of footsteps announced the arrival of visitors. I recognized Margaret's fearful touch but not the other. Heavier. On. After a moment of hesitation, Margaret knocks and I answer. Mistress, Mr. Tucker is here. He wants to talk to you about the murders. How interesting. Come in. Margaret lets the man enter and leaves immediately, as ordered, and I take a moment to inspect my guest. Mr. Tucker is a mousy man. He has been one of our more discreet guests over the past few years. He owns shares of the mines, and works at one of the city's 2 banks as an accountant. Or owned, I suppose. Under his normal human smell, there's now another one, the light rot of a dried corpse. I would not have noticed it in a crowd, only the clean environment of my room allows me to pick it up with ease. There is still no trace of aura. Ms. Lethe. Good evening, he says as he holds his hat between 2 nervous hands. An impressive facsimile, even to the mannerism. Mr. Tucker, we have been friends for a long time, you and I, have we not? The man blinks, then lowers his head nervously. I wouldn't say that. All right, I am impressed. And a tad worried. Was it a lucky guess, or does it have access to its victims' memories? If it does, then I hope there is a limit to it or this creature may have access to the collected knowledge of humanity. It would be dangerous if it had a physique to match. You were going to speak about the murder? You know what I find the most interesting? I turn away and approach one of the 2 windows leading to the inner court, opening it despite the weather and the late hour. The victims were seen moving after they were dead. I duck under the swipe of eagle-like talons coming from an elegant sleeve, grab it and pull. The thing that used to be Mr. Tucker is sent screaming into the night, properly defenestrated. I'm not going to risk a fight indoors, not with how much furniture costs in this forsaken place. I jump lightly and land in a crouch next to the creature as it stands up. Besides the clawed hands, the thing's head is also split in half by a nightmarish mouth covered by a forest of needle-like teeth. Strands of skin peel off from the inhuman parts as if they had burst from the inside. The rank smell of carrion is stronger and I can finally feel the beginning of an aura. Where a werewolf is anger and unbridled fury, this thing is envy and pride, meant to pervert and desecrate. I feel disgusted at its sight and outraged at the challenge it dared offer. Judging from the speed of its attack and the strength it exhibited when slaughtering its prey, the creature is slightly more dangerous than a Wendigo. I am offended that something so weak would trespass on my territory. What are you? It still speaks. I, however, am done. I move in and dig a hand in its chest to find nothing. Not a hint of blood. Only layers upon layers of parchment-like skin. I recoil in surprise and swipe its face with a similar result. Only a trickle of blood drips from a few teeth I raked in passing. Before I can attack again, Tucker's face just folds from the monster's head like a poorly pinned drawing from a wall, and below I find a young, handsome man with a haughty composure and deep blue eyes. The clawed hand extends towards me and my foe's aura flares, its tainted nature supplemented by the shimmering aura of spellcasters. Fire whip. I focus. Deep in my mind pallies, the statue of the transformed herald shines an ominous blue light, and in the real world, purple essence lines my claws. I swipe and the spell breaks, its heat dispersing harmlessly in the winter air. The surprise in its eyes is precious. An instant later, I pierce them and see a satisfying fountain of fluid emerges from the wound. Then the creature screams. The horrible and tremulous sound is ear-shattering, and the music inside of the dream stops. What the hell was that? Oh no, you little prick, that's my business you were trying to disrupt. I prepare to jump after it but reconsider. The creature is turning tail and I cannot butcher it in the courtyard. Curtains are already being thrown aside by alarmed patrons. A change of scenery is called for. I let it run away and whistle. On my right, the stable's door bangs open and Midas comes out, fully harnessed. She is massive, a towering black presence that fills its surroundings with an ominous aura. Her hooves thunder on the packed snow as she trudges forward. I grab a leather strap on her chest and nimbly twist around as she passes me by, landing on her back. Metis is never saddled. The harness is only here to keep my hunting implements secured. I don a black cloak I had prepared and we rush left on a side street after the fleeing shadow. The creature is fast, but Metis is faster. The light of the moon reflects on a pair of panicked eyes, dark brown this time. A new face is shed and its limbs grow thinner and longer, then it jumps on a nearby roof. Wendigo. It can mimic magical creatures, not just mages. I lean to the side as my mount turns without prompt. When Metis is prey in her sight, a forest fire would not stop her. Now I don't want that thing jumping around delicate tiles, waking everyone around in the dead of night. One silver dagger later and the creature falls with a yelp. On the other side of the street, I crouch and leap and turn. In a single motion, I reach the top of the incline and push myself to the other side. Too late, the street is empty. This isn't over. It thinks it can hide. I sample the air. The stench of rotten skin is strong but fading. I move up and down the street. Nothing. It is still there, hiding. There are only large log houses and a ceramic shop around. Nothing moves. I close my eyes and focus. I hear a few slow heartbeats barely perceptible through the thick walls, and then something else lighter, faster. I turn and throw at the same time. My third and last dagger hits my prey, a huge bat almost 50 feet away, which shrieks and falls in the snow. What? That is not my prey at all. With a revolting squelch, a stag emerges from the remains and flees away. Never mind, it is. I rush after it and hop on Metis as she joins me from a side street. We gallop down the street like a charge of Hessian hussars, leaving clouds of brown and white in our trail. The stag is close enough that I could shoot or catch up to it, but it is currently heading out of town and that suits me just fine. Metis will have her fun and I will have my peace of mind. We lightly jump over a fence and the last of the houses fall away. In front of us, there is only an endless sea of flat snow dotted by the odd copse of trees, shining like powdered diamond under the moonlight. The stag has grown large enough to break a path through the pristine layer. I can hear its panicked breath and Metis' own as the frigid wind caresses my skin. My hood falls back and my hair is free. There, under the dark heaven, there is nothing but the three of us dancing a ballet with an end as old as time and just as inevitable. It will soon be over, but for now, we race and I cherish the moment. With Metis now at full speed, the distance between us closes until the metamorphosed horror can hear the nightmare at its back trampling snow beneath its cruel hooves. It darts to the side and enters a thicket. I hear another crack, yet another discarded skin, and take out my large game spear. Another one of my creations, this lance is a weapon designed to hunt from horseback. It is a spiked guard designed to keep the harpooned prey away from its wielder, and a silver and steel blade 2 feet long, enough to pin 2 grown men to a brick wall. I lower it in anticipation. The largest werewolf I have ever seen emerges from the tree line. Its fur is dark and crisscrossed with claw marks and other scars. It opens its fanged maw and lets out a monstrous howl, a promise of blood that would make any mortal pale and any horse falter. Metis is not any horse. She accelerates, eager to answer the challenge. I lean into her, use my legs as support and catch the surprised foe in the throat. The spear lifts the beast off its paws and I stab it in the trunk of a great pine as deep as I can. Without waiting I jump off for the kill. I don't know how many layers of skin this thing has, but I certainly intend to find out. Even if I have to spread enough human vellum on the forest ground to furnish the Library of Alexandria. It's going down. Now. I savage the chest, break a clawed limb. With another hand, it quite literally grabs its face and discards it. The flesh disappears and a large bird is freed. The head. Of course. I grab the feathered head and tear off its beak, which breaks without resistance. We tumble on the ground as I ravage layer after layer of cake dermis, sometimes an animal but mostly humans. I do not hesitate when the creature changes into a child, or a pleading mother, or a sad-looking old man. Childish and pathetic. Such artifice is wasted on my kind. After 20 more faces, I stop the cast of another spell, then rip off the muzzle of another wolf, then break the spine of another wendigo. The skins are now shed faster, the creature desperate to break my hold by changing shape as fast as it can. A hopeless struggle. The only thing it unsettles is my sense of smell. I stop counting the shapes. I just slice and rip and tear and catch a limb when my captive manages to slither away. This is no longer a fight, just a messy execution, and after a few minutes my claw draws blood. I stop out of curiosity for a moment, even though I should know better. The real features are those of a native man, twisted by malice. Its eyes shine with utter malevolence. It spits insult and imprecations. Yes, struggle and blame your fate, intruder, you die now. I lean forward and recoil. He stinks to high heaven. Pwah. I would have retched my last 3 meals if it were physiologically possible. What in the name of the Watcher is that? Did his real body marinate for a decade under all that skin? Pah. I shove the man headfirst into the pure snow, curse my delicate nose and drag him around the closest trees. When I am done, I slap him unconscious for good measure and look at the crook of his neck. No. Just no. Nope. I grab a wrist and wipe it energetically with handfuls of ice. I'm not letting my meal go, out of the question. Seriously though. I am not entirely convinced this is worth the effort. Eventually, the skin is clear and only smells marginally like a tanner's armpit. It was a good. I cannot say it. This was unique and entertaining right to the moment where I had to dress my kill like some cavewoman. Well, nothing to it. Close your eyes, Ariane, and think of America. I bite down. A foreign land, red and cracked like an old farmer's skin. Men on horseback emerge from a scar in the earth, bringing prisoners and captured cattle. Father is a good chief, and one day, so will I. My leg did not heal right. I did not want to be a Hatali, a healer. At least I will have Shandine. Her beauty will soothe my pain. I hate them, hate them, hate them. I drop the bloody stone on the back of my dead brother. If Shandine will only spread her legs for the mighty Hashkadilwui and not for a cripple, then I will give her what she wants. I grab out a skinning knife and smile for the first time in months. I am mighty of body, mighty of magic. I am Yina Aldlashi, a skinwalker. Travelers and raiders and villages and herders, all fall before my guile, and their skins and memories join my collection. All those that scorned me, I cast them down. No one can. I pitch forward, nudged by an impatient and hungry creature. Her warm breath tickles my ear. HSSS. Impatient girl. It is your time soon, I promise. Let me finish. No one can stop me, for they do not even recognize the danger in there. Bump. Metis, come on. I stand up and let the exsanguinated body fall. I was almost done too. All right, I will give the attention she deserves. I pat her head to congratulate her for a job well done and negotiate a truce until it is her turn. There. Metis' nostrils flare and I realize my mistake. No, wait, Metis, I'm sorry. Too late. The proud and offended equine knees in distress at the ungodly stench coating my fingers, turns tail, and gallops away. Metis. Damn it. She got my shovel too. Stupid pony. I'm going to have to return to the dream and then come back with a shovel to hide the disgusting thing. This evening couldn't possibly get any worse. I stare at the opened door of my bedroom. I had left specific orders that it be locked again after my departure, and I know for the fact that Margaret did it. I push it open and my nose is assailed by the cloying scent of roses. All the little silver traps I had prepared to disrupt magic have been carefully cut, twisted and assembled in an artful rendition of a nativity scene on my desk. Another envelope has been placed on my bed. I jinxed it, didn't I? With a heavy sigh bemoaning the cruel fate befalling this poor, humble vampire trying her best, I open it. My cute little princess, now that you have resolved your territorial dispute, so to speak, do come and find me. We have much to discuss. With much love, your admirer. Arg. That little. HSSS. Oh, that is IT. I step out and immediately hail Margaret. Besides Roger's caravan and Sullivan's group, did anyone else come to town recently? No, mistress, the town is entirely devoid of travelers. I am not sure that handsome gentleman even stayed. What? A handsome gentleman? What handsome gentleman? This the first time I hear about this. She blinks in surprise and her mouth twists with worry. I never mentioned him before? I apologize, mistress. Never mind that. A handsome gentleman. Right. At least I know where to start looking. First the Swan, the only formal establishment in the city. This is where visiting dignitaries and clergymen stay while they pass through town. Officially at least. I shall start my search there. Failing that, I will return to the Seamstress Union tomorrow and ask Debbie where that man is and why she failed to mention him before. This is just unacceptable. The Swan's main entrance reeks of roses. A fully blossomed flower thorns proudly next to the clerk's desk. Unbelievable. Excuse me, sir, I am looking for a friend. Of course you are Ms. Lethe. Please refrain from disturbing the peace and silence of the place while you are here, yes? The clerk, a tall and thin old man with a respectable air, struggles not to smirk at his own joke. I should have woken John up. I lean forward and stare him in the eye, letting a hint of threat slide through my composed mask. The owner can afford to disrespect me in public, sir, can you? The sneer turns to anger, but I recognize him now. He is the night manager for this inn. Mostly incorruptible but not exempt of weakness. Can you, Phillips? Can you afford to be unprofessional? What will your daughters do if you lose your income? The sneer falls. I will ask you to leave, madam. After I am done. I climb up the stairs, following the trail of perfume to the top floor and its master bedroom. I open the door to a well-furnished receiving boudoir around a fumoir occupied by a roaring fire. The balcony's door is open despite the polar temperature, and from it, a melody emerges. The voice is male, with a tenor pitch that is nothing short of exquisite. A few notes played on a small harp or lyre accompany the song with tasteful and delicate arpeggios. The lyrics, however. There once was a spawn so fair, whose foul mouth was beyond compare, and while she did try her best, the mortals were impressed by the beauty of her derriere. I look out the opening into a vis-a-vis bedroom. In it, I see a majestic couch upon which languidly lounges a man I recognize. I groan and smack my head on the sill out of sheer frustration. Snod! The Lycian looks positively princely in an ornate green jacket. Gone is the emaciated ghost we rescued from that cave. His twinkling amber eyes are now surrounded by a filled-out, handsome face, both delicate and somehow virile. His hair is grown and surrounds his face in a pleasant halo, shining like wheat under the July sun. As I watch, a golden shimmer comes upon him, and for an instant, his colors grow incredibly vivid before fading back to normalcy. Good evening, Puppet, it has been too long. The rake. He planned this so well, I cannot even pinch him as he is in someone else's home. I even see a white leg emerging from the heavy bed cover, distinctly female. Something clicks in my mind as I remember this part of town and who the house belongs to. Sinead, is that Louisa Watson's bedroom you are in? Ah yes, Louisa, such a precious young woman. She has a fiancé. And they will be promptly married within the next 2 months thanks to me, I guarantee it. The lad should feel grateful. Sinead. I even taught her a few tricks that will positively delight him. Oh my. Cough. Sinead, you absolute cad. Shhhh. You will wake her up. I am not here to talk about my delicious snack, no, I am here to discuss our upcoming cooperation. He adds with a devastating smile. Cooperation, my posterior. How dare you? Tut tut tut, I did tell you I would test you when we next meet. Can't say I am impressed. It took you long enough to find a man who does not even try to hide. I was otherwise engaged. What, with the skinning monster? P50. Laughable. It should not have taken you more than a few minutes to take it apart. Arg. But let us first leave this dreary place. People here are so stuffy, so officious. Reminds me of the court back home. I have had enough seducing the virtue off of spout frogs, mind you. I want some salacious lasses climbing all over me, 3 at a time. You are so dead. None of that. I have a wonderful proposal that you will not refuse. Just offer me the hospitality for a week and I will expose it in detail. I don't see what. I have the location of the Order of Gabriel's main prison on the continent, less than 2 days of travel away from this city. The end of my sentence dies on my lips as Sanayat smiles like the very picture of innocence. He is telling the truth, without a doubt. Well? Fair enough, but there better be no tricks. 1 week of hospitality I grant thee. Excellent. Sanayat lithely jumps, closes the windows and picks up a prepared travel suitcase. We walk down the stairs and he stops at the welcoming desk, from behind which our dear Mr. Phillips gazes at us like an irate gargoyle. Ah yes, Ariane dear, I appear to be strapped for cash. Would you mind filling for me, seeing as I am your guest? What? The Lycian leans in and whispers in my ears. Is it not your duty to guarantee my well-being? We would not want me to go to prison surely. How would I guide you to the aforementioned locale then? I should just let him rot. Or wipe the memory of my coming from Philip's mind and let that imbecile cool his rear on a prison bench for a bit, but... Gah, he is right, I cannot have the mortals annoy my guest. With clenched teeth, I ask for the bill. Philip smiles like a cannibal at a battle site and draws a veritable bundle of papers from a nearby drawer. Let us see here. 3 nights, 3 breakfasts, lunches and dinners, bath supplement, as well as 2 bottles of Ramune Conti, 3 of Voss Ramune, 1 Centimillion, 1 Riesling, 1 bottle of Montblanc ribbon champagne, 1 of bourbon, a Mignonet of peach schnapps, a dozen pots of honey, 3 bars of Swiss chocolate and a quart of mead for a grand total of $126.15. Breathe, Ariane, just breathe. Count to 10. Can't kill him, that would be breaking the oath. My bank will honor it. Certainly. Please sign here, Ms. Ariane Lethe. It takes all of my self-control not to stab the bill, Philip sighs, then myself with the stupid pen. Once out, I immediately turn left on a side street. Hey, the dream is not that way. I find a metal bar and a barrel next to a construction material stand and twist it like a wet noodle. This better be a great, magnificent, stupendous offer, you absolute bloody scandalous rake. Scoundrel. Tut tut, no need to make a scene, purport. Why, traveling here was a horrible experience and I needed to recover. Surely you understand. Don't you ever indulge? I move and stop with my index claw right under his nose. Once this truce is over, I'll show you exactly how I indulge, mister. You can count on it. Sanayat just frowns. What's that smell? I have unknowingly died and been sent to some absurd circle of hell. Tobe continued. Thanks for listening.